All right, welcome back to the Law Firm Growth Guys. As you can see, we're missing a guy this week, but I'm Jordan Terry, and I'm joined here with Mike Lowe. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, brother?
Not too much. So the topic of this week's conversation is going to be based on a number of questions I've received in the last week alone, all about AI content writing tools. Whether or not AI content writing tools are a good investment, are we going to be using them? Do we recommend to our clients they start using them? We've been receiving this from basically all of our clients for the last couple of weeks, and we just figured it'd be a good time to create a video. We wanted to make a quick video just covering the basics, giving everyone at one time, our entire audience, an idea of our take on it, and providing you guys with a better idea of how it all works and whether or not you should use AI writing tools. So without further ado.
All right. So first things first, Jordan, rather than answering something super broad and convoluted like how does AI actually work, can you dumb it down and kind of give us a different way of thinking it to help the common man or attorneys or our parents understand how AI works?
Yeah, sure. So I guess the best analogy would be think of AI as a really, really intelligent person who can read extremely fast. And you take this intelligent person and you put them into a library. It's full of books. And you tell them, hey, you got to read all these books. You got to understand all this information, and I'm going to give you a pop quiz at the end. So in a normal library, you would go to work through the books. You'd go to the index, and you would find the category you're looking for, and the books within a category are organized by author name and then book title. AI is different. AI doesn't organize by categories, doesn't organize by names or group in that way. It actually organizes word by word. And rather than reading the entire text through and through for every book, it'll identify individual words and then find patterns. So what words are near other words? What subjects are related to this word? And then throughout the library, it'll find all the patterns that exist with every word that you provide it for a question or for a given concept, and it'll say, okay, here's the meta-analysis, here are all the patterns put together based on what we have access to in this library. This is the information we think you're looking for. This is the answer to the question you have. What's important to understand, and a lot of people don't understand this, is that library just doesn't exist. AI doesn't exist in a library of every text, of every concept, of every publication that's ever been made. You have to build that library. And so when you build an AI model, that's essentially building the library the AI has access to, the books they have access to, the text, the references, all that jazz. And then when you hear someone say they're training the AI model, that means they're teaching the AI how to understand the text within the library they build, how to understand and how to compartmentalize and conceptualize subjectivity and nuance, and how to determine what information means what and how things are interconnected, what information to avoid using, what information it has to use.
Really, in a dumbed down way, it's how to think, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you're telling that guy who's in your library that you've built, this is how you have to think.
Here's everything that you need to learn.
And then from there, that guy, AI, will provide you the information as best as it can with the information you've provided it and the instructions you've provided it. And that's how you get output from AI, especially generative AI like ChatGPT.
Library is, and what it learns from is we've referred to as the source of truth, right? Like what is its mecca? It's this is actually true. This is false. Don't worry about this. All you got to do is just know that this is your North Star here. And in today's age, that there's pros and cons, but in a race for information, as it continues to get quicker and quicker, as well as the exchange of information, the pro is these companies and these models are getting faster and faster and faster at ingesting and understanding information really well. Unfortunately, the con that no one talks about is if any of that information, we've talked about this in the past, if any of that information is even slightly false, well, your source of truth is inherently false. And now all this content that people write with this, and we'll get into this later in this video, all the content that's created using this truth is inherently going to become false then as well. So it creates a little trickle down effect because there's not enough time to properly vet all this information accurately.
Exactly. And going back into the analogy of like building a library, it's important to note that like you can build, and so people within the legal space especially are building AI models, libraries that are really, really defined and really vetted sources of information. However, building those is extremely expensive and extremely time consuming. So what a lot of models are doing is they're just relying on the easiest source of information available to everyone in the world at all times, which is the internet. And not to shock you, audience, but sometimes, just sometimes, the internet does provide false or misleading information. And that is where you run into issues with these AI writing tools, is the source of information, the internet, might not always be that.
In the past 5 years, everything we've seen is true, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, we've been good the last 5 years before that. So that's the answer to your question of dumbed down version. How does AI work? Hope it makes sense. Hope that was an okay analogy. Let me ask you a question, which is a real question that we've been getting a lot. Is AI writing, or are AI writing tools a good investment for SEO and marketing?
So yes and no. Inherently, so like there's plenty of tools that float around the market. I'm not going to name drop them because I don't want to promote them, but you've got your main AI models that people work off of, and that's going to be ChatGPT, which everyone now knows. I'd say majority of the population knows. The other ones are going to be Claude. Perplexity is a big one. Google's Gemini, which honestly, people keep telling me it's getting better, but my experience has been always miss with Gemini. But all these other tools that you find are built on top of those models. So like they've integrated these models in there and they're really just utilizing those. And all they are these big series of prompts that have created, or they're programmed in as this is how the AI should think, like you were just saying in your analogy, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because they're built on top of these tools, what you can't really successfully do or consistently do is override the system prompt, which tells the AI model how it needs to think. And you can't override the library accurately, predictably, consistently, which is critical for these to be as useful as they need to be. The reason I say yes, they could be useful is because they allow you to get the information you need very quickly. Just find things you need to talk about very quickly. But you need that human mechanism of checks and balances here. And you can't really, like, I wouldn't recommend a single one of the AI tools I've tried out there for writing content. I would just go back to the models themselves and find your own flow. You can leverage them there. We do it too. It's not a secret. I think all the SEOs and all the marketers out there right now, if they're trying, are using AI in some capacity. But if you're completely dependent on that and lean on it too heavily, that's where we see things go awry.
Yeah. And you touched on it, but like the sourcing here, the library is really important. They're all these tools are built on GPT or some very similar generative AI platform. The sourcing or library is the internet. And so when you're trying to create a blog, let's say it's for St. Louis truck accident, the tool is just going to crawl Google results or the internet as a whole for content around St. Louis truck accident lawyer. So you're really just sourcing information that already exists online and spinning it with your own spin. But there's a few problems with that. One, you're adding no value. There's no new value being brought to the table for the audience, for Google. So it's just a regurgitation of maybe 5 or 10 of your competitors and what they've already said. So why is Google or anyone else going to decide to rank you higher if you're the newest guy on the block with this content and you're bringing nothing new to the table? Why is the audience going to trust you more either? If you're not bringing anything of value to them, you're just regurgitating the same stuff they saw when they clicked on the link before you.
It creates an echo chamber, right, of just the same thing. And so like you'll sit there, and if you were in a lecture hall and it was just like every person who raised their hand to add something new, hopefully, or ask a question was just echoing the same thing that the teacher already said. That's really what's happening right now. And so the ways that you insert yourself, ideally, people want to hear from lawyers, right? That's something that not that the common man doesn't really get to do unless they're in a situation where they need a lawyer. They can use some insight, not just like, here's the general gist of things, here's the statute of limitations for your state, but this could differ on a case-by-case basis. Like, insert some firsthand experience there. That's where EAT was really popular in the past few years. It's still, I think, is a thing. It's just like, if you're dependent strictly on EAT being your ranking mechanism, you're not going to win. But don't be afraid to stick your neck out there and say, like, this is what in the past we've seen on, in one case I can remember, yada, yada, yada. This case involved XYZ, and here's what we did to help resolve that accident lawsuit amicably out of court, where they got twice what the insurance company was offering them originally. Boom, there's value.
You know, another issue with sourcing from your competitors is that a lot of the times when you're sourcing from your competitors, it will pull language directly from your competitor websites and cite your competitors as the source. And we actually have, as recently as last week, had this occur where one of our clients' competitors sent them a piece of mail that said, hey, we're really sorry. We've been using this, and I won't name the name, but this AI writing tool, which we trained specifically not to cite our competitors. It's been publishing content on our website for the last couple of weeks, and we realized that it's been citing you, our competitor, as a reference point, and also calling you the best injury law firm for this given subject matter. So despite them,
You know why I did that?
No, you tell me, Mike.
Because we did a damn good job with them.
That's right. You're right. And unless you're really being thorough, and really manually checking all of the content, all of the links, you know, you're never going to catch all of that. It's always going to get through. So why not just take the time to do it yourself rather than relying on these tools? So along with the sourcing issue, another major issue that we see is hallucinations. And I'll let Mike explain what is a hallucination.
Yeah, so hallucinations, you know, they're much less common now than they were a year ago or 2 years ago when these first models start to become increasingly popular. But really what it is it's a lack of information that it needs, like that source of truth that we said, like this library that contains all these books in your analogy, Jordan. Let's use, let's see, I think Suboxone, right? Or what's a mass tort lawsuit wrapping up right now?
Wrapping up, fingers crossed, AFFF, Camp Lejeune.
Clients are happy campers with that one too. AFFF, great example here. That one's been around for a few years, but in the very beginning, when this mass tort first hit the scene, one, we know that the audience, a lot of them want to hear. They're going to want to know what this potential is in the first place. What is this potential settlement amount or even a range? And in the very beginning, no one in their right mind has a general idea as to what that might look like. Like, there's some things you can do for a guesstimation, but when you're still in an investigative stage of a potential mass tort before it ever evolves to that, you don't have this settlement amount information. So what do some firms do? They might have to make it up. Or in this case, the AI, it knows that to write a complete article, because it knows that in other mass tort articles, you're going to want to mention the settlement amounts at some capacity. It's just going to go ahead and it takes the liberty and it makes it up. And that's a hallucination because it doesn't have access to that information, but it has to fill it in. So it goes, all right, I did my job. I filled it in.
Yeah, I don't think we have to explain the dangers of making up potential settlement figures. And I think your example was AFFF, or the original you asked about was Suboxone. That's a good example. Like, we saw that early on. I think somebody, and I'm not even sure if it was a law firm, but it might have been a legal marketer, someone published early on their estimated settlement ranges. And then we started seeing that pop up everywhere. And even in new content, when as the litigation progressed, as more info came to light, as they had like a more defined range, newer content that was obviously AI generated was still referencing that really large range, which was like $10,000 to $500,000 plus. And we're seeing that published across websites. You know, that puts law firms at risk. I mean, at the very least, of making their clients angry when they get a settlement that's for $5,000 or whatever, and not $1 million.
I got $1,200. You said I was going to get $1 million.
Yeah. So, and in other industries, hallucinations are bad. In legal industry, hallucinations are potentially detrimental potentially put you at risk for malpractice, can really tarnish your reputation and piss your clients off. So that's another very, very dangerous thing that comes with AI writing tools, especially unchecked, unedited AI writing output.
They're usually pretty confident too. Like they don't present it as if it's an estimate or a guesstimation or whatever language would actually make it ethically accurate. They're going to present it as just fact more often than not. And so when people are like this instance you were bringing up, Jordan, of that one firm emailing our client to inform them that they had accidentally published a good PR puff piece for them, they're not alone. Other firms and other companies in general have gotten this bright idea of, I'll just take a day or two to set up this chain automation that will create any article I ask it to create for me. It's going to be perfect. It's going to follow my instructions, and then it's going to upload it to my website, and it's going to publish it. And if you don't have human checks and balances every step along the way, you're in for a nice rude awakening. It's just a matter of when, not if, and the magnitude of what that rude awakening actually is for you too. So don't do that. That would be tip number one. Action item: don't remove the human entirely from the operation.
Yeah, and I'd recommend even having the human involved in multiple steps. Even if
Every
you have
step.
a well-trained model, every step needs some level of human interaction and editing. And publication should be limited to, even if it's automated publication, it should be limited to a manual submission by human. So there's a checks and balances process built in. Or
Best case scenario,
you know.
you don't. You mentioned our clients in a positive light, and everyone wins. We're all happy.
Yeah. We get a free backlink. I'll take that from a competitor.
But we will take the backlinks. We will take those.
All right. So next question. What are the AI tools missing? That's kind of an open-ended question. I'm going to let you take this, but I'm going to explain really quick because I'm going back again to my analogy. We talked about the library, where this AI, these tools are getting their information, which is the internet, which is Google, which is your competitors. And we talked about how you train your AI tool so you can tell it what to do, what to look for. With a lot of these AI writing tools, one of the ways they're training is they're integrating with already existent SEO tools that we use every day as SEOs, SEMrush, Ahrefs. And these tools tell us, this is how often people on Google, on Bing, on ChatGPT, on whatever, online, are searching for this specific key term, or these related key terms, or these FAQs. This is the volume in each market these searches are. And this is how easy or hard it is to rank in the top results for these keywords. So what these tools do is they take this information and they integrate it with their AI, and they tell it, crawl the internet, look for opportunity areas, pages we don't have, keywords we don't have that we could potentially rank for. Scroll Google for the top ranking results for those keywords, and then just spit out a reiteration of the top ranking pages. So that's important to understand how these tools operate. And the big part that's missing, the big part that really good SEOs and really good marketers provide, is the data that's not available on SEMrush yet, or on Ahrefs, or it's not easy to find. And Mike, what would you classify that data as?
I mean, there's plenty of that. Like, the first thing that comes to mind is there's always going to be a lag, and that's something new. Specific data, like, do you have any examples of what data you'd like me to expand on?
Yeah, let me rephrase that. After we meet to talk SEMrush reports and all of that, generally the content team, we all meet and we talk about opportunity areas, like what content we could do that's outside of SEMrush. Where do we source that? How do we find those opportunity areas?
It's just going back to your roots in a lot of these aspects. Like, there's tools and there's extensions and there's tchotchkes you can use for anything they'll sell you. But SEMrush that's my tool I'd recommend to anybody who's wanting to do SEO. I do that over Ahrefs. Both have their own pros and cons. I just like SEMrush overall. I think it's much more useful and more beginner friendly. But that aside, it's not perfect. It's an estimation at the very best, and it's always a lagging estimation, probably a couple weeks lagging as well. For this is how many times we think that this keyword is getting searched. Well, you can look at keywords on Google Trends, and that's partially what they're going to use there. But then they have other things you could pay more for to get a better estimate. But at the end of the day, it's always an estimate, and we have to wait for all that data to get ingested, which takes time. And then we have to get that data comprehended and projected. A way to go to not be so reliant on these tools is to go back to your roots and just go to the Google search itself. Like, put yourself in the user's shoes, really, of like, if you are suffering from one of these terrible diseases, like let's use mass tort example, one of these terrible cancers that are listed in the AFFF lawsuit MDL. You're looking for help. You're looking to see if your cancer is going to qualify. You're looking to see what the real basis or standing would be for this. They're not looking for that exactly, but they're looking to see like, oh, is this a legitimate thing? Okay, yes, it's legitimate. Here's how many people who have filed a lawsuit already. Here's the current status of that lawsuit. Here is the potential settlement amounts for that lawsuit. And then some people will even break it down by tier of the ailment or health condition. That helps the user get that value that they need to, one, find someone to help them, and two, be confident that you are the person to help them. So put yourself in their shoes, and a very easy way to do that is just search on Google or wherever. Tell me about the AFFF lawsuit if you want to use a chat tool. And I love using the people also ask section on there. You can also do a little trick of old SEO trick. Go into the search bar and type in AFFF lawsuit and don't hit enter. And then just watch what pops up there as the auto suggests. That's typically what people are searching, and that's going to help you beat that lagging data by just going to the source, the real source of truth, where the action happens.
Yeah, I mean, I could have thrown you a softball, but I threw you a fastball there and you knocked it out of the park, so I appreciate that. I mean, in an industry where first to market wins, especially legal, where Google's not an expert in the law, but it relies on the lawyers that operate on the platform, and ChatGPT, same thing, and all these search engines. It relies on the lawyers to be the source of information. And if SEMrush and other tools are providing you search data, that means that someone already beat you. So there's enough search data and there's enough keyword difficulty data that enough competitors already exist online that, you know, they've beaten you to first to market. So the real trick, and the thing that the AI tools are always going to miss out on, is the experience and the gut feeling you have about certain litigations or certain topics. And hey, maybe there's no data on this, but like just using common sense to figure out, you know, if I'm Joe Schmo and I'm dealing with this thing, that's how most of our conversations go, right? Like when we're talking about a new litigation, we're like, all right, we try to put ourselves in the shoes of the potential claimant. Like, all right, well, what do I want to know about this? I mean, you covered a lot of the good ones. What's my settlement worth? What are the injuries? What's the criteria look like? What's the timeline? What does the legal process look like? But then for each litigation, there's a lot of nuance. And it's like, okay, I might have this question. Like, how does this thing affect my claim? This is my timeline, or I might have been exposed to multiple things. Like, how does that affect me? And AI is never going to, at least now, not in the foreseeable future, these tools will not recognize those patterns or those opportunity areas. I'll give a quick example outside of mass torts, because you're probably thinking like, oh, maybe I don't work in mass torts. I'm single event. That's pretty evergreen stuff. Here's a really good opportunity area we found last year. We were talking to one of our clients, and they were telling us we were actually just shooting the shit with them. And they were telling us about a motorcycle event that occurs in their town, not to tell us that this was an opportunity area or anything. They're just like, hey, this is a fun thing we're doing this weekend. We're going to sit outside, have a beer, and watch all these cyclists drive around. And we're like, oh, well, we didn't know that occurred. That brings in 10,000 motorcycle riders a year to your small little town. So we decided to, even though there was no keyword data on SEMrush and there was no real search volume that we could find, we're like, all right, let's just put some content up on their website about this and do some specific content on the socials and stuff to promote it. And just from that, without any keyword data or any real data to go off of, we ran with it. It was low effort, but it resulted in like more clients for them and reoccurring clients, given only in a small segment of the year, but on a reoccurring basis every year. Those are things that real people have to find that information. It's not something you can find with a pattern or with data. So those are things that I think AI tools are missing now and will continue to miss for the foreseeable future.
One last shortcoming before we move on is this is more relevant for single incident. Let's use car accident lawsuit pages, for example. I don't know how often, if we tried to quantify it, even if it was say 20% of the time or 10% of the time, it's a decent chunk there of when you try to generate an article or even just an outline of, let's say, here is my search query. St. Louis car accident lawyer, Atlanta car accident lawyer, whatever city. Generate an outline for this. A lot of times it will see car accident and it will go, okay, car accident lawyer, car accident lawsuit. It starts to kind of string together its thought and its reasoning. And then it spits out an outline and it's mostly good, but then it includes like a random section or two of just like, how would this insurance claim providers handle or defend against this in court. I don't know what the exact verbiage would be, but it's like things like that where it's just like, all right, I'm not trying to give the defense an argument here. I'm trying to tell this person that I can help them, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just combining everything into one thought, which now removes the usefulness. It's going to, if anything, that's going to take any motivation away from someone looking to file a lawsuit and go, man, these guys already have the book thrown against us. All right, well, take this one on the chin and we'll move on.
Yeah. I mean, that, real quick, piggybacking off that, like we saw that when we tested, we were just curious. When this first came out, we got access to one of the AI writing tools. We're like, all right, let's see what we can spit out. And it was, I don't know, for maybe it was Suboxone, something like that. We just like, we gave it a pretty well drafted prompt, like clear guidelines. And then at one point it like delved into like, I don't know, 1,200 words on the financial and market impacts of the Suboxone lawsuit. We're just like, okay, let's take a step back here. As someone who's affected by Suboxone, do I give a crap how this affects the markets or stock share of the manufacturer? No. And like, you know, if you go online right now, whether it be on a PI site or a mass tort page or really any website, it's very easy to discern what is AI written, even if it's well crafted, even if it's well prompted, because there's always going to be that crap it throws in. And unless it's manually edited out, you know, it just exists there and it offers no real value to the audience. So they were acquired by, or they're owned now by Indivior. Suboxone's manufactured by Indivior, but they were acquired by another company. Can't remember who it was. And like a big chunk of the page it spit out was just about the transfer of ownership and the market impacts of that transfer of ownership. You know, like, I mean, I guess maybe someone who is a day trader and also dealing with Suboxone related injuries might be interested, but general audience probably won't care about any of that. Okay, so last question that I've gotten just because I keep saying it and forgetting it's not common vernacular for most folks is, what is the dead internet theory? Mike, what is the dead internet theory?
I've never heard it referred to as this, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, but it's just, it's that echo chamber we were describing earlier, right? It's just bots that are creating content for future bots to now read and then use that as their source of knowledge to create content for, you guessed it, more bots and so on and so on and so on. So we've talked about this in the past multiple times in videos. If any single fact is incorrect there, it's just a snowballing, compounding effect there of false, 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 like growing, like this lie gets bigger and bigger and bigger until that lie is, holy shit, everyone's just lying to each other. So that's that internet theory, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, you nailed it. I'm surprised you never heard of it. It's a kind of
Never heard it referred to as that.
This is like some old school conspiracy. Like it's been around since like the early 2000s. People are like, oh, you know, the internet's all fake. Like it's dead internet theory was like at all times, it's just bots creating content for more bots. But this was before AI even. And I always thought it was probable, but not likely, especially working in SEO. I'm like, no, like all that crappy stuff you're reading is from the clickbait websites. Those are all produced by someone. They're not bots, but they're just not actual writers either. Now the dead internet theory seems not only likely, but extremely probable. And you nailed it. Like eventually what's going to happen if all lawyers start using AI writing tools, the same tools, what's going to happen is it's eventually going to be AI using AI to create more AI, which in turn is reading AI to create more AI until everything's AI. Which is a problem. And like you said, if there's a cog in the machine at any point in time, there's misinformation, if there's one hallucination at all, then the whole thing's screwed. And I'm sure that like if you're looking at these tools, they're selling you on like, oh, we don't have any hallucinations. We're fine. Our tool's well trained. Here's a little fun factoid for you, because I had to look it up yesterday. Last year, Google spent $35 billion to develop AI tools. This year, they've committed to spending $75 billion to develop more AI tools and to refine their AI. There was a recent study published that said generative AI results in Google, which are the AI results at the top when you search something now, are either misleading or incorrect 60% of the time. So a company that's already spent at least $35 billion on this flagship product that they're really leveraging their whole operation on, they're wrong 60% of the time. And if that's the case, how likely it is that there's an AI writing tool that spent $500,000 to get developed that's getting everything right all the time? I'm going to put the chances at 1%, 0%. 0% is probably fair. That works.
So Jordan,
Mike.
this all said, let's leave our listeners with some value here. AI garbage, apparently. Can't rely on it like I once thought I could. What should they do about it?
Well, AI is not necessarily garbage. If used correctly, if used, like you said, with a lot of manual, it's a little laborious if you do it right, but with a lot of manual checks and edits and final checks, it can be really useful. We use it all the time. What can you do about it? Take advantage of it. If you're a lawyer right now, every single one of your competitors is probably flirting with the idea of using AI writing tools, or already all in on it. I've already covered what's going to happen. What's going to happen is everyone's going to jump in. They're going to produce the same shit. That shit's going to produce more shit. And there's going to be just a cyclical, a cycle of crap. And we already know that this industry is one that rewards effort. And so low effort, like AI writing, it's just going to go to the bottom. And the few firms that take this as an opportunity now and reinvest or invest more into real writing and real research and real editing and real content creation, they're going to be the ones leading the conversation that everyone else is regurgitating. And Google and ChatGPT and all these platforms, they're going to reward you in the long run, and you're really going to stand out. So I would say, long-winded answer, use this as an opportunity to work hard, produce good stuff, and then in a year and 2 years, whenever, you're going to be rewarded handsomely.
If you're in a city that is anything bigger than just a dot on the map, if you got 30,000 or more people, 50,000, let's make the threshold, I can tell you with the utmost confidence, at least one of your competitors, if not all of your competitors, multiple of them, are using AI to create their content in some capacity. If you're not currently using it in some capacity, you're behind. However, you have an opportunity to catch up and create better content because a lot of them are completely reliant on that, and there are no checks and balances. We've given you some of the insight that you'll get from a lot of other SEOs out there. You have to provide that value, insert your voice in some capacity there, and use AI to create the content that you think the listeners would want to hear or read about. That's a good use of these AI tools. If you're in a town that's smaller than 30, 50,000 people, I don't know. I always lean back to this, but I'm from the northwest suburb of Chicago called Lake Zurich, Illinois. It's where I grew up. We have about 30,000 people in that town. You could probably rank pretty damn easily in that town for car accident lawyer, personal injury lawyer, motorcycle accident lawyer, medical malpractice lawyer, etc. Because if anyone is using AI already, which there is in those towns, a chance that they aren't yet, your competitors aren't yet, you have the chance to be the pioneer there and lead the way. So you can kind of sprint out to where you've seen people sprint out to in these bigger markets that we've talked about in the past: St. Louis, Chicago, Atlanta, New York, etc. So there's one opportunity there. The other opportunity, can't remember it right now, but I had one for you. It's
First off, I think people are going to be shocked to find out you're not from Philly and you're actually
I know,
from
right?
Chicago.
Dude.
Anyone
Come
who's
on.
watched more than one episode. Oh, yeah, go ahead. We'll take this
Come on.
opportunity.
Super Bowl champions, baby. Come on. We don't go anywhere without it. But yeah, the EAGLES Eagles, we love them, but we are from Lake Zurich, Illinois. I do not get it confused. Yeah, if I think of that later, I'll let you guys know in the comment section. Oh yeah, here's what I missed. But that thought might be gone forever at this point.
Yeah. Well,
it was good.
Yeah,
it was good.
Leave a comment. Anyone else could read Mike's mind and figure out what he was thinking about. Please leave a comment as well. Another thing I'll really quickly mention is, like, we've been talking about AI writing tools because it's the hot topic of the day. We know what's coming down the pipeline because we've been exposed to it. AI writing tools is just the beginning. We're looking at, and there's already lawyers who are aware of it, AI video production, AI image production. AI SEO is apparently huge now. And from what I hear, there's been a lot of money thrown into it recently, which is basically giving an AI tool the ability to do all of your SEO. With all of these tools, it is extremely important to reiterate that there are major issues, and without proper human checks and balances, you are at the very least putting yourself at risk of putting out misinformation, tainting your reputation with clients and potential clients, maybe a little malpractice. And also, just, you're not doing anything to stand out. You're just doing enough to blend in. So if your goal is, for the sake of putting a couple pages on your website up, You want to use AI writing tools, you want to use an SEO tool, go for it. It'll accomplish that for sure. If you want to actually drive both short-term and long-term growth, you need humans involved. You need to think outside the box. You can't rely just on the data available on Google and on SEMrush and on these tools.
Thought of it.
Thank God.
I got it. It's 2 points. The other 2 tips we can do to arm you guys for success here is, number 1, it's more don'ts than do's. Don't let anybody come around and convince you that SEO is done. It's obsolete. All these AI tools are search engines. Honestly, that's the dumbest tip we can give, because if you do give up on it, it does make our life easier. That's something you're going to hear people come around. If they're going to try to introduce this new concept to you, which really just boils down to SEO. It's all content marketing, and it's all just driving people to your site through different search engines. That's SEO. That's what they're going to do too. So that's number 1. Don't be fooled. That's very common these days. Number 2, don't let anybody, this is very relevant now because an old client of mine has just recently fallen victim to it. I had someone come around and convince them that they can do their SEO for a fraction of the price. SEO is expensive because it takes a lot of effort. A fraction of the price, but completely with AI, and they can do it better. And what they've done in the past 3 weeks is completely destroyed their whole website. Like, it is a disaster now. Don't let anyone fool you to make you think that it's so easy now, and that's why all of a sudden it's way less expensive than you'd ever heard before. If you're not familiar with it, message us. We're happy to discuss pricing in future videos too, to give you guys a realistic idea as to what you should be looking at for legal SEO. Otherwise, they're going to have to cut corners, and if they're cutting corners with AI, you're setting yourself up for a future disaster. It's just a matter of when are you going to find out the Titanic has hit an iceberg?
Wow, that is a really good point. We just quoted someone on a potential partnership, and they said they got a quote for 10 times cheaper last week, and I just asked out of curiosity, was it an AI tool? And they said yes. And I just said, listen, go with whatever competitor you want. I'll send you a list of other guys that I like a lot that we know, but I would recommend more than anything not going with that.
The game's getting harder. The easy guys, it's going to be short-lived. We know that. Don't make your website one that was run by the guys who are doing it the easy way. That's, again, going to fall apart before you know it. These AI engines are getting smarter as how they understand content. They're learning how to ingest that library more efficiently and more accurately, and then string together their thoughts at that point. Don't fall victim to that. And then also the silver lining to this, I think, is like, yeah, our life is harder now than it was a couple of years ago when you were doing SEO. But that's, I think, partially why guys and girls get into SEO is we like challenges. We like having to figure out things that don't have definitive answers. And while all these other lazier SEOs are just kind of giving up on it entirely, it makes our life a little easier, but the best ones are rising to the top. So it continues to challenge us each and every day. Even though we have success, our meetings aren't ever spent talking about success, Jordan. Our meetings are spent talking about, okay, here's 5 minutes. Let's celebrate our successes. And here's 55 minutes of what the hell is happening over here. We have to figure out what we could be doing better. That's the challenge. And I think that's where SEO is becoming fun again, at least for people who've been doing it for a long time, is there's new challenges. It's not so much of the mundane, same old anymore.
Agreed. Good way to wrap it up. Appreciate the thought.
Go.
Appreciate your time. We have no Corey for a fun fact. Do you have any fun facts? I can't think of any fun facts that I haven't already said.
You could do my French tank one.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, if you ever had a lineup of tanks, which everyone is likely to run into at some point, do you know how to pick out an authentic World War II French tank?
I do not.
They were built specifically with 4 gears, so you'll check that first. 3 of those gears go backward, and 1 of them goes forward, just in case the enemy attacks from the rear.
It's a good fact. It's a good, strong, objective fact right there. All right. Well, with that, I think it's time to wrap it up. Hopefully next time we'll have Corey on to provide some real facts and some adult conversation.
Please. Do the sign off again. Let's do that one again.
I did that. All right. So with that, I think it's time.
So anyway, thanks for joining us today, guys. Another episode of the Law Firm Growth Guys here, answering the hardest pressing, most relevant, and current questions on the internet. If you enjoyed this video, as always, please, we don't ask for any money. All we ask is that you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And if you have ideas for future topics you'd like us to cover, be an early adopter. throw it in the comments right now, because I promise you, if you comment it and it's a good question or it's a good topic, we will cover it. But eventually we'll be so famous, we won't have time to cover all the topics. So drop it right now and we'll make sure to get to it.